The sky above planet Varex 9 was quiet, cold, and full of stars. Jack Walker, a human mechanic, lived alone near Colony Post 14. He didn't like noise, and he didn't like people. Machines made more sense to him. That night, while he was fixing an old hoverbike, a strange sound filled the air. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't wind. It was a scream from the sky. Jack stepped outside. A bright light flashed across the dark sky. It moved fast and then it crashed into the forest behind the hills. Smoke and fire followed. The ground shook a little. Jack stared at the sky. What the hell was that? He grabbed his jacket, a flashlight, and his old pulse rifle. It had been years since anything exciting happened here. Maybe it was just an old satellite falling, or maybe something else. Jack followed the smoke trail through the trees. The air smelled like metal and fire. Birds flew away in panic, and small animals rushed past him. That was never a good sign. Then he saw it. A spaceship, half buried in the ground, still glowing. Steam rose from the cracks in its smooth silver body. It didn't look human, not Earth tech, not even something the Galactic Federation used. Jack stepped closer. There was a long crack across the side. A hatch was partly open. He heard coughing. Someone was inside. He raised his rifle. "Hello, are you hurt?" No answer, just soft breathing. Jack looked inside and saw her. A girl? Or at least, she looked like one. Her body was small and slim. She had silver blue skin, long, soft feathers instead of hair. Her arms and legs were shaped like a human's, but too smooth, too perfect. And her eyes large, glowing, with swirling light inside them. No pupils. She looked up, weak and scared. "Help," she whispered. Jack dropped the rifle and reached in. She collapsed into his arms. Her skin felt warm. Her feathers moved slowly, like they were breathing. Jack had no idea what species she was. But she was alive and injured. "I've got you," he said. "Don't worry." He carried her all the way back to his repair shed. The firelight from her ship still burned behind him. Inside, he laid her on a soft blanket. He didn't know what else to do. He wasn't a doctor. But she was cold, shaking. He turned on the heater and covered her with another blanket. She slept. Jack sat nearby, staring at her. What was she doing here? Where did she come from? No answers. Just more questions. He looked at her feathers. They weren't normal. They shimmered like tiny lights. And there were markings on her skin, glowing lines across her neck and chest. They changed slowly, like moving symbols. Suddenly, she twitched. Her body glowed for a second. Her breathing changed. Then she whispered, "Jack." Jack froze. His heart skipped a beat. He hadn't told her his name. Hours passed. Jack stayed awake, watching her sleep. The strange glow on her skin faded a little. Her face looked peaceful now. He stood and walked to his workbench, picked up the rifle. He didn't know if she was dangerous or not, but something told him deep inside she wasn't here to hurt him. Still, there was something wrong. Why? Did her ship crash? Why did she know his name? And what were those markings on her skin? Outside, the fire in the sky had gone out, but far above, in the darkness between stars, something else was watching, and it was coming. Jack hadn't slept. Not even for a minute. The alien girl was still lying on the soft blanket in the corner of his workshop. The same place he fixed old engines and broken robots was now a place of silence and questions. The fire in the heater cracked gently. Outside, the wind was howling over the dusty land of HFY Rex-9. She hadn't moved for hours, but Jack could feel it. Something had changed. He walked over, careful and quiet, and sat beside her. Her feathers shimmered softly in the warm light, glowing blue, then green, then gold. He'd never seen anything like them. They weren't just feathers, they were alive. Suddenly, her fingers moved. Then her eyes opened, slow and cautious. She blinked twice, then looked at Jack. For a moment, she seemed confused. Then, calm. "You stayed," she said. Her voice was soft, broken, and strange. But he understood her. Jack nodded. "You were hurt. I couldn't leave you." She tried to sit up, but winced. Her arms were weak. Jack moved closer. "Don't force it. You're safe here." She looked around, her eyes catching every tool, every screw, every glowing wire. "Is this your nest?" she asked. Jack chuckled. "I call it a workshop. But sure, I guess it's my nest." She smiled, just a little. But it lit up her whole face. "What's your name?" he asked. She tilted her head. "Liari, Liari," Jack repeated. "That's different." She nodded, slowly. "What's yours, Jack?" She closed her eyes and whispered his name like a secret. Jack. He felt something strange inside his chest when she said it. Like her voice reached deeper than just sound. Like it touched something in his soul. For the rest of the day, Liari rested. Jack brought her water and some warm food, soft bread and root stew. She smelled it first, carefully, then tasted it. Her eyes widened. Warm, sweet, spicy. Jack laughed. "That's stew for you." They sat by the firelight. Silence. Between them wasn't awkward. It was peaceful. But Jack had questions. "Liar, why did your ship crash?" She looked at the fire, not at him. "I was escaping." "From who?" She didn't answer. Instead, she touched one of her glowing feathers and pulled it loose. She held it out to him. "For you." Jack looked at it, glowing with soft gold light. He reached out and took it carefully. The moment his fingers touched the feather pulsed. A strange warmth passed through his hand, like a spark without pain. "What is it?" he whispered. "A sign," she said, "of trust." Jack didn't understand, but he felt it was important. Later that night, after she fell asleep again, Jack stepped outside. He looked up at the stars, so many, so silent. He held the feather in his hand. How did she know his name that first night? Why did she run? And why did she trust him so easily? He didn't know, but one thing was clear. He was now part of something much bigger back inside. Liari stirred in her sleep. Then something strange happened. Glowing patterns returned to her skin. But this time, they moved faster, forming shapes. Symbols. Jack watched from the corner of the room, heart beating fast. The symbols stopped. And a new one appeared near her heart. A symbol that looked like a spiral inside an eye. Jack stepped back. He had seen that same symbol once before, on an old warning label. From a crashed alien war probe, it meant genetic binding. Jack stared at her in shock. "What are you?" he whispered. But Liari was already deep asleep, and outside, a teen. The darkness beyond the trees. Something else had landed, and it was looking for her. The days on Varex 9 were long and quiet. The nights, even quieter. But something in the air had shifted. Jack didn't know it yet, but this night would not be like the others. This night would mark the end of what he thought was normal, and the beginning of something he could never have imagined. Liari had grown stronger in just a few days. She had gone from a weak, wounded girl to someone different, more alert, more aware. Her glowing feathers now pulsed with slow, steady light. Her steps were silent, like she was always listening to something far away. Jack noticed how she moved differently each day. She would sometimes step outside, stare at the stars for hours, then return without saying a word. She wasn't just healing, she was changing. That evening, As 2 moons rose over the hills, Liari came to Jack and said one thing: "Come outside, it's time." Jack followed without asking why. There was something in her voice, something serious, yet calm. They walked to a flat, open space behind the workshop. Jack used to dump broken engines there. Now it felt like a stage, waiting for something. Liari stepped into the center of the clearing. Then she closed her eyes and began to move. It was not dancing, not in the way. Humans understood it. Her body flowed like wind through water. Her feathers shimmered with glowing patterns that danced with her. Shapes formed in the air around her like echoes made of light. Spirals, circles, symbols Jack didn't understand. She never touched him, but he felt every movement. His chest grew warm. His breath slowed. The feather she gave him, now kept around his neck, began to glow softly. Then it happened. The air changed. Time slowed. Liari opened her eyes. Her glowing stare locked onto Jack's. She stepped forward, slowly, gently. "You were chosen," she said softly. Jack swallowed. Chosen? For what? She raised her hand and touched his chest. To bind, a soft flash of light passed between them, not bright, but deep. Jack felt something inside him open, like a door had been unlocked. His knees buckled. He fell. Darkness took him when Jack woke up. To his morning. Sunlight poured through the windows of his workshop. His head ached, but not from pain, from something else. Like too many dreams all at once. He sat up slowly. "Liari?" called. No answer. He looked around. She was gone. He stood. Walked outside. No sign of her. No feathers. No footprints. Nothing. Just silence. Confused. He returned to the workshop. Then he saw it. On his bed where she had once rested. One glowing feather, and beneath it a spiral symbol. Drawn in dust, the same symbol from before. An eye within a spiral. He picked up the feather. It pulsed once in his hand. Suddenly, a whisper echoed in his mind. Not with sound, but with feeling. 1 month, then silence. Jack stared at the sky. 1 month. 1 month, until what? Where was she? Why did his chest feel warm whenever he touched the feather? Too many questions. No answers. He was alone again. But he knew something was coming. And deep inside, a part of him had already changed. Far away. Hidden in the shadows of the forest, something else watched from behind the trees, not human, not friendly. It had tracked the energy of the ritual, and it knew what had been done. The binding had begun, and the countdown had started. Asterisk 1 month had passed. 30 quiet, lonely days, and every single night, the same dream. Jack would see her, Liari, standing under the stars, her feathers glowing, her eyes calling him. She would whisper something he could never fully hear, just the sound of his name. Carried by the wind. Then, every time, he'd wake up, sweating. Alone. Jack had stopped fixing machines. He couldn't focus. The glowing feather she left behind stayed around his neck, tied with an old leather cord. Every now and then, it would pulse, soft and warm, like a heartbeat that wasn't his. He started keeping track. The feather pulsed every 24 hours, then every 12, then 6. It was counting down, but to what? It was the 31st night when everything changed again. It began with silence. Not just the usual silence of Virex 9, but a heavier one. No wind, no bugs, no distant engines from mining drones, just stillness. Jack stepped outside. The moons were hidden behind clouds. Then light, a strange, soft blue glow, lit the trees beyond the ridge. He grabbed his jacket and flashlight, heart pounding. He didn't need to ask himself why he was walking toward it. He already knew. He reached the edge of the forest clearing where Liari had danced a month ago. His breath caught. There it was. A large object, hidden beneath vines and earth, covered in glowing moss and cracked metal. Another ship, same design as hers. But this one looked older, burned, broken. And yet, it had not been here before. Jack climbed over the debris. The ship's hull was cold, dead, long abandoned. But inside, something pulsed, a dim, golden light deep inside the cockpit. Behind twisted metal, Jack squeezed through and stopped. On the floor, surrounded by glowing dust, was an egg, not small, not normal. It was almost the size of a small chair. Its surface shimmered, not like metal, but like skin, soft and glowing. Colors moved across it like ripples in water, and inside it, something moved. Jack stepped back. No way. Then behind him, a voice. You came. He spun around. Liari stood at the doorway. But she was different. Taller. Stronger. Her feathers had changed color, now a mix of deep gold and stormy gray. Her eyes still glowed, but colder now. Older, Liari. What is this? Jack asked, pointing to the egg. She walked past him, slow and calm, and placed one hand on the eggshell. It's ours, she said. Jack blinked. Ours. Liari looked at him, and this time, she smiled. You were chosen. You were bound to me. And this is what comes from it. Stared at the egg in silence. 1,000 questions crashed inside his head. But only one came out. Is it alive? She nodded. Yes. And it's growing fast. Too fast. Why? Because others are coming. They felt the ritual. They want to stop what we've started. Jack looked around nervously. Who are they? The same ones I escaped from, she said. My people. My enemies. Yours too, if they find out what's inside this egg. The egg pulsed again, and Jack felt something, not fear. Something deeper, something calling him. He walked closer and placed his hand gently on it. The shell was warm. A second heartbeat joined his own, and he heard it. A voice. Not Liari's. Not his own, but something in between. Something new. I see you. Father. Jack stepped back, gasping. Lyar. I simply nodded. It has begun. Far above, in the orbit of Varix 9. No lights, uncloaked in silence. No lights, no beacons. Just darkness. And they were descending. The egg pulsed softly in the dim light of the ruined ship. Jack could feel its heartbeat steady, strong, almost alive. He stared at it, unsure if it was a miracle or a curse. Liari stood nearby, her feathers now shining like molten gold. Eyes, fierce and full of secrets, never left the egg. This is not just a child, she said quietly. It carries the future of two worlds and the war between them. Jack swallowed hard. A war. What kind of war? The kind that has followed me across galaxies, Liari said. My people want this egg destroyed. They believe it will change everything. They are coming to stop us. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Far outside the ship, the forest shook with heavy footsteps. Jack's pulse quickened. Enemies, Liari said. They are close. Jack grabbed his rifle, ready to protect the egg. He wasn't just a mechanic. Anymore, he was a guardian. The first figure emerged from the trees, tall, shadowy, with cold eyes that burned like ice. More followed. Silent, deadly, and armed with strange weapons that hummed in the dark. Jack and Liari backed toward the egg. The attackers moved fast. But so did they. Liari's feathers flared bright light. Jack fired his rifle, his shots echoing through the trees. The battle had begun. As they fought, Jack's mind raced. Why was this egg so important? What was inside it? And most of all, could he keep it safe? Liari shouted above the noise. The egg chooses its guardian. You must protect it. no matter what. Jack nodded, feeling the weight of her words. In that moment, he was not just a man on a distant planet. He was part of something bigger. Something alive. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed. The egg vibrated. A thin crack appeared on its shell. Liari gasped. "It's hatching." Jack stared, breath held. The shell broke. A small creature emerged, soft, glowing, and staring with bright eyes that seemed to see into his soul. It was neither human nor alien. It was both. And it looked at Jack. The creature spoke, not in words, but in feelings. "I am the future." Jack reached out slowly, and the creature took his hand. The battle outside raged on, but inside, a new bond had formed. Jack was no longer alone, and the fate of two worlds rested on the fragile life before him. Asterisk. The sky above Varix 9 darkened without warning, not from clouds, but from shadows. 3 massive ships appeared, blocking out the stars, silent, powerful, and filled with cold intent. Jack looked up, heart pounding. "They're here," Liari said, her voice steady but fierce. "My people." Jack held the glowing creature close, feeling its warmth against his chest. It was small, but it carried a power neither of them fully understood. The ships moved faster, descending like predators hunting their prey. On the ground, the first wave of warriors arrived, tall, armored, eyes glowing blue. They carried weapons that seemed alive, shifting shapes, humming with strange energy. Their leader stepped forward, eyes locked on Jack. "You have broken the sacred law," he said. "You must surrender the egg, or face judgment." Jack shook his head. "I won't give it up. Not now, not ever." Liari stepped beside him, feathers flaring gold and silver. "The binding is complete. This child is our future." The leader sneered, "Then prepare to die." The battle began. Blasts of light and bursts of energy tore through the trees. Jack and Liari fought side by side, defending the egg with everything they had. The small creature inside the shell stirred, glowing brighter with each moment. Jack felt a strange strength flowing through him. He was no longer just a man. He was a guardian amid the chaos. Liari whispered urgently, "This child is not just life. It's a weapon, or a savior." Jack asked, "Which one?" She looked him in the eyes. "That depends on us." The battle raged, and time felt like it stood still. Suddenly, the sky flashed. A huge ship appeared above, larger than all the others combined. Its hull shimmered with unknown technology, and from it, a voice echoed, "Cease this fight. The future depends on it." Jack looked at Liari. She nodded. The war was only beginning. The battle stopped. The huge ship hovered above, its glowing lights casting strange shadows on the ground. Jack stood beside Liari, holding the small creature close. It was quiet now, but its glow was stronger than ever. Suddenly, the egg in the ruined ship began to crack again. Not slowly, but with a fierce, bright energy. Cracks spread like lightning across its surface. Jack felt the ground tremble beneath his feet. From the broken shell, a being emerged, not fully human, not fully alien. It shimmered with light skin glowing soft blue, feathers gleaming like stars. Its eyes looked deep into Jack's soul. The creature smiled. It spoke not with words, but with a voice inside Jack's mind. "Father," it said simply. Jack's heart raced. He reached out trembling. The being took his hand and pulled him close. "You are the bridge," it said, "between two worlds, between past and future, between war and peace." Around them, the warriors and ships fell silent. Even the enemies watched in shock. The child's power was unlike anything they had seen. Liari stepped forward. This is the future we fought for. In that moment, he understood. The egg was not just a life form, it was hope. The huge ship above began to glow brighter and slowly. One by one, the enemy ships powered down. The leaders of the alien warriors approached Jack and Liari. They bowed. Their heads, we see now. Their leader said, the binding was not a crime, but a gift. Jack smiled. For the first time in a long time, hope filled the air. The war was over. A new future had begun. Under the 2 moons of Varex 9. New families stood together, human, alien, and child of both worlds. The stars above whispered a promise. Together, they could change everything.